Good evening, everyone. This is student meteorologist Daniela Streety here on your Wednesday night edition of FSU weather. Right now, taking a look at Doak as the sun will begin to set soon. 73 right now with some showers, one with the very outer bands of Hurricane Milton right now. A little breezy as well, winds from the north-northeast at 13 miles an hour. And right now, we're staying mostly in the 70s, even in the low 60s or upper 60s in Live Oak and Valdosta. Overall, fairly comfortable right now. Dew points are still a little bit muggy, and we expect those to dry out in the next day or so. Radar is currently seeing, again, these are the outer bands of Milton, some heavier rain going across the I-75, I-10 interjunction there, but most of the light rain is staying to the east side of Tallahassee. And if you're going out tonight, maybe bring an umbrella just in case, but overall, we're going to have low 60s, partly cloudy skies, a little bit of a breeze. And what we're going to look into today is Hurricane Milton, where it will be making landfall, the effects of Milton, and colder temps ahead for Tallahassee. All that and more on FSU weather.
Good evening and welcome into the October 9th edition of FSU Weather. I'm student meteorologist Ryan Seagram.
And I'm Matthew Wisnett. We're so glad that you could join us here on FSU Weather as we will be talking a lot about Hurricane Milton and the impacts it will have.
Yeah, Category 3 hurricane with the last advisor, so it has weakened a little bit, but I think the wording kind of is, don't worry about the rating, don't worry about Category 5, Category 4, Category 3. Worry about the impacts, and the impacts are going to be a lot of them to Tampa, to Fort Myers, to southwest Florida coast, so just keeping our eye for that.
Yeah, a lot of impacts, including some of the tornadoes that have been impacting a lot of Florida, and we're going to turn over to Daniela to look at the board and see what's going on.
Yes, thank you guys. So across the southeast, we're looking at Charlotte and Virginia, New Orleans, Louisiana, looking at those blue skies and clouds. But as we also see in Tampa, sitting at 73, almost no visibility right now as there is a lot of wind and rain going in the areas. Tropical storm conditions are ramping up due to Hurricane Milton. And across the southeast, for the most part, again, we're seeing those outer bands all across the Florida Peninsula and even going slightly into the farther parts of the Panhandle. But a lot of the rest of the southeast is looking pretty dry and comfortable right now. Across the southeast, we have a spread of 70s and 80s. We even have 85 in New Orleans, 86 in Shreveport, 77 in Nashville, 69 in Charleston. And even though in Florida we're looking a little cooler, it's definitely due to the overcast skies and rainy weather and wind from Hurricane Milton. The rest of the southeast, although warmer, is a lot drier right now and a lot more sunnier due to a cold front that is dipping into the Florida Peninsula. As we look into our dew points here, we can see this cold front approaching as we move into tomorrow and Friday. These dew points again to drop in the 50s in Tallahassee and even 60s in Tampa, staying in the 40s as well as we go farther north into Atlanta, Nashville, and Memphis. And as we take a look, here is Hurricane Milton right now, and it seems like the landfall is going to be around the 8 and 9 o'clock hour tonight, a little earlier as it is accelerating towards the Florida Peninsula. And as we move into Charlotte this weekend, if you are planning to go, it will be very dry. Rain chances will remain low, and we get that definite taste of fall towards Thursday and Friday. Morning lows maybe even getting into the upper 40s. If you're planning to go to Nashville this weekend, lots of the same story. Rain chances are low. We may even have highs in the mid-80s on Sunday, but we will have, again, those lows in the 40s and lower 50s as well. In Tampa this weekend, not really recommended to go to Tampa this weekend as we have the threat of Milton. And after that passes, though, we will have clear skies and a little bit drier weather, highs staying around the upper 80s. Trying to go to New Orleans this weekend. Again, a lot of that drier air from the cold front will be there, so there'll be a lot of sunny skies and afternoon highs sitting at the mid-80s, maybe some 60s in the morning. So a lot of pleasant weather to be expected across the southeast. So as we take a look into the next, what's next?
Yeah, taking a look a little bit closer to home, as we mentioned, we do have, looking at the radar, we have that kind of outer flow of Milton hanging out kind of just to the east of Tallahassee. So if you go not far at all down 10 towards Madison County, that's where you're going to be dealing with this. And then as you work over towards I-75 from Valdosta all the way down the Florida coast, that's where we're going to be dealing with this. Taking a look at temperatures around the area, we are a little bit cooler right now, so 73 in Tallahassee. Over towards Marianna, a little warmer, 77, and then towards Valdosta, Live Oak, that's where we start to get into the upper 60s. And with our dew points, they're a little bit lower than they have in the last few days because we have Milton kind of consuming all that, that moist air, and in response, we have lower dew points. Take a look at the future satellite and radar. We've got the showers and storms that are just hanging around, especially east of us near Monticello, Madison County. Those are going to start to work their way out as we get into the overnight hours, and then setting up for a great couple of days ahead. So tonight we've got 63 degrees. Showers are going to be early, and then as we get later into the overnight, that's when it's going to work off. We've also got 14 mile per hour winds. So just keep in note that it's going to be a little bit cooler tonight, and you're also going to be having those gusts with you. So you might want to bring a jacket with you as you go out and about tonight. Across the area, we're going to be getting into the low to mid 60s with some clearing skies, especially as we get later into tonight. Tomorrow, temperatures stay a little bit cooler, 80 degrees in Tallahassee, 79 Bainbridge, 78 over in Valdosta. So a lot of us just hanging in the upper 70s, low 80s. And as we get into the week ahead, take a look at that. So we get to the back end of Milton, and we've got plenty of sunshine, right? 82 degrees for your Thursday. As we get into the weekend, temperatures stay pretty moderated with morning lows getting into the 50s, 56 to start off your Friday morning. And as we work our way into the weekend, again, no rain. We're going to start to see temperatures climb a little bit Sunday. And as we get into Monday, that's when temperatures return to 90 degrees. By Monday, or by Tuesday rather, they drop back down to about 80 degrees. And then Wednesday, 73 degrees. So we're kind of going to be getting into this temperature roller coaster almost, where we're going to be going up and down a little bit. But I think we're starting to get closer and closer to the start of fall, and just get closer and closer to when fall is going to actually be starting up. So now we're going to talk everything Hurricane Milton with Matt and Daniela.
Yes, thank you, Ryan. So right now, we're taking a look at the satellite of Milton. Hopefully popped up in a second. But Milton right now is now a, I believe, Category 3 hurricane now, right?
Yes.
It has dissipated a little bit due to wind shear. Max winds are at 120 miles per hour, but don't downplay that. It is still a major hurricane.
Yeah, you can see that it's moving pretty fast at 15 miles per hour, and we expect it to accelerate as it continues across the state, as it will arrive sometime tonight, we expect.
Yes, so a lot of threats that we are looking at right now. Hurricane warnings are expanding from Cedar Key to Fort Myers. Those are when hurricane conditions are possible, as the wind field of Milton has grown in the last since this morning, really. And so those tropical storm warnings are even expanding across to the southern parts of the Big Bend and all the way down to Miami.
Yeah, so even if you aren't in the direct path around Tampa, just be aware that you can still receive those hurricane-type winds or the tropical storm winds. Even if you're in Orlando or on the East Coast in Jacksonville, you will be affected by this hurricane just because of the size and its nature.
Yes, and then the impacts as well, that's going across the whole entire peninsula and even impacting the East Coast as well. That's why the East Coast even has hurricane warnings. And another huge destructive threat to consider is the storm surge around Tampa Bay, Sarasota area. The peak storm surge can be up to about 13 feet, 15 feet even, and that doesn't even account for low or high tide as well. So, I mean, we can see a lot of flooding issues around the west coast of Florida.
Yeah, and even if you're not on the coast, be aware that there will be a lot of rain with this storm that will increase the flash flood risk for a lot of these areas that have already been affected by Hurricane Helene or that are affected by the storm surge. You can add rain on top of that, so there will be a lot of water in those areas. And we have a graphic to show you on what storm surge looks like.
Yes, so here's normal sea level and give you an idea of ocean surge and the winds from the storm pushing more water on shore. So as we see here, it can grow even more, and when we look at the levels of it, we can see 3 feet, 6 feet, and even over 12 feet can cover houses, buildings, and that's where storm surge is very destructive and dangerous. And even at 6 feet as well, I mean, that's taller than most people on average. So that is a very life-threatening situation to be in.
Yeah, even at 6 feet, it can start flooding a first floor house, and 12 feet or more is really just going to flood an entire house, whether it's 2 stories or 1 story. So just be aware of that if you are in those houses. And another threat that we're facing from this storm are the tornadoes. As you can see, we have a picture from Collier County. You can see this tornado that has been that is just pushing through. It's pretty big in size, and it's not the only one we have seen in Florida.
Yes, so a lot of tornado threats today. Some even a particularly dangerous situation tag was on it. So there's big tornado outbreak happening in Florida. But as we circle back to the board here, we have the tropics with Ryan.
Yeah, we got the latest advisory here on Hurricane Milton. Category 3 hurricane with winds of 120 miles per hour. Pressure down to about 948 millibars, so it is increasing as winds, or as pressure increases, the winds will start to decrease more and more. When we saw pressure down into the 890s, that's when Milton was the strongest and had the Category 5 winds. But as you can see, we've got just an expansive area that Milton is encompassing. We've got, all the way off the coast of West Palm Beach, all the way up towards Jacksonville, just a massive storm system. Taking a look at radar, so I've got this on the east coast of Florida. We've got a couple tornado warnings here. This is going to be down towards Indian River County, and then we're going to be working our way up into Brevard County as well. We did have a couple of stronger, bigger looking tornado signatures earlier, so just keep in mind that we saw a video on social media of some big tornadoes. So that's kind of going to be the east coast threat. As we work towards the west coast threat, there's Milton off of the Tampa radar. There's the center of it, not far at all from making landfall. I would say probably somewhere between like Bradenton, Sarasota. It's going to be that area where it's going to be making landfall. And so it doesn't matter if the winds are rotating in the way of a tornado on the east coast, or if on the west coast we're dealing with those inner eyewall winds of 120 miles per hour. The winds are going to cause damage no matter what. And then we're also going to be dealing with the storm surge getting into Tampa Bay, down into the islands near Fort Myers. So let's take a look right now at downtown Tampa. This is going to be Raymond James Stadium, home of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This looks like a crappy day, and it's going to get worse as the night goes on. Heavy rain and winds gusts of about 22 miles per hour. Over in downtown Orlando, 75 degrees, temperatures in the 70s, but we've got winds of about 21 miles per hour. Over towards Port Canaveral on the east coast, thunderstorms with wind, temperatures in the 70s, winds about 23 miles per hour. This was near where we had a tornado a little bit ago, Vero Beach. Right now, 80 degrees. Rain in the area right now feels like 85 with winds about 18. So as we worked our way down towards Indian River County, that's where we saw some of the bigger tornadoes. As we look at rain still to come, we've got almost 5 inches still to go in Tampa on top of what you've already seen. This has been raining all day today. And then we've also got Jacksonville seeing about 3 inches, Orlando still got almost 3 inches to go. And I would say further down towards Miami, Cape Coral, you guys are kind of wrapping things up as we go into the later hours today. So Milton is going to keep working its way towards landfall. I'd say probably somewhere near between Tampa and Bradenton, Sarasota maybe. And then the center of it is going to move into central Florida and make a close pass with Orlando and Cocoa Beach. Now remember, this is just the center of it. We saw how big the impacts with Milton are. So just because the center of Milton, which is right now Category 3, is going to be moving into the Tampa, Bradenton area, even towards Sarasota, that doesn't mean that everyone outside of this cone is immune. That's just where the strongest winds are going to be found, right in the center of Milton. So again, with the 6 o'clock advisory, we do have a Category 3 hurricane, some strong winds to deal with. And taking a look at some of the spaghetti plots, you can see they've kind of gotten tighter and tighter. And it's going to be probably somewhere between Bradenton and Venice where Milton makes landfall here in the next little bit. Taking a look at all the advisories we've got. So this is all tropical storm related. Tropical storm warnings in red, hurricane warnings in pink. So all the way up in central Florida, we've got hurricane warnings in effect. As for tornado, we've got a tornado watch going into a later night. And then we've also got a couple tornado warnings, like I mentioned, down near Port St. Lucie and Brevard County. For storm surge, like they mentioned, we are going to see possible up to 12 feet. And then taking a look at some of the current wind speeds around the area. Orlando, 21 miles per hour. Tampa, 25 miles per hour. Fort Myers, 23 miles per hour. And then earlier today, we did see gusts up to 55 in Fort Myers, 48 in Tampa, and 43 in Orlando. Matt?
Yeah, as we look around Florida here, you're going to see down here in Miami, we're looking a little cloudy. Tampa, it's very rainy right now. In Panama City, pretty sunny, but elsewhere, a lot of rain from Milton as it rolls in. And you can see Milton is just off the west coast right now, but you can see the bands are just pushing through here to the north. And so just be aware, if you are in those areas, be aware of tornadoes and be aware of strong thunderstorms. So make sure you are taking cover and taking your precautions at this time. Current temperatures, you can see that we have been sitting in the 70s for the most part because that rain has been keeping us relatively cool. But up in Pensacola, we've been sunny at 84, the one lucky spot here in Florida, as other areas have been seeing rain and the clouds. In Miami, the clouds will stick around tonight with a chance of rain, and tomorrow the chance goes up just a little bit, but it clears out for Saturday. When we look at the radar, you can see the stray storms is pushing in off the Gulf. That should be pushing out of the way by Friday afternoon and leaving your Saturday looking real nice. Tampa, you can see the rain will roll through tomorrow, but will start clearing out by the weekend as Milton passes. You look at Orlando, Milton will be making its way into Orlando probably sometime early tomorrow morning, so a lot of that rain chance will be tomorrow for that area, but as Friday rolls around, it will start clearing out and the temperatures will start climbing back into those mid-80s. Jacksonville, same story with the rain tomorrow as Milton makes its way across the state and into the Atlantic, but the temperatures will start climbing into the weekend and it will start getting a little more sunny outside. We look at the radar, you can see to the south here, there is a lot more rain, and we are on the edge of it right here in Tallahassee. But Jacksonville and Orlando, as well as Gainesville, are seeing quite a bit of rain from those bands of Milton. And we look at tonight in Florida, you can see mainly cloudy and rainy for most of Florida, except in Pensacola, where it's going to be sunny and at 63 degrees, which will be the low for Florida. But a lot of these areas will be seeing the outer bands of Milton as it rolls through. And we look at tomorrow, you're going to see the sun will come out here in Tallahassee and Pensacola, but for a lot of areas, there will be rain from Milton as it rolls through central Florida and moves into the Atlantic. A lot of those eastern coast areas will be rainy with a lot of rain as it just continues to push through here into these areas. And we'll take one last look at Doak to see what it looks like outside.